So yeah, kind of AFM, we can cover quite some size ranges. So going from kind of very atomic resolution, which for BioAFM often is not, it's not bio, but then with DNA we start in the bio world, bacterial cells, organoids, and tissues, and I try to cover a bit of each section to what you can do for sample preparation, because you know AFM is a surface technique. And in bio, you often measure in liquid. So this means that you need to somehow immobilize your sample or your object of interest. And I will show you, I try to give you some examples and also show you some protocols that might give you a starting point to investigate further what you need for your sample preparation. So yeah, BioAFM often is then combined with optical microscopy. I will come also to this topic. Actually, I have also a combination. What was the question of confocal and AFM imaging simultaneously? But let's talk about typical substrates. So mica is a very much used substrate in the AFM world. Other things are 𝗂𝗍𝗃, Petri dishes for cells and tissues. And also, depending on if you want to do it combined with higher resolution optics, you need to use often cover slips or simply some microscope slides. So these are the most typical ones. And I will show you a bit of advantages and things that you have to think about when you use either substrate or another. So mica surface for small objects is very commonly used because, so for example, for DNA strands, some DNA origamis, lipids, smaller vesicles, and so on. And this is mainly due to its properties and advantages. So you get an atomically flat surface just by cleaving it with a Scotch tape. So this is very straightforward, and you can just reuse it and cleave it all again. And get a very flat layer in case you want to measure things like DNA strands of 2 nanometer. This is highly practical. And you have a negatively charged surface, which I come to now later, because this helps you to bind or use it to place your objects on the mica surface. And it has a quite, it's optically transparent, not 100%, but I will show an example where this is used. Actually, if you cleave it enough, you have a very thin layer, which is then optically transparent enough to combine it also with optical microscopy. What we often use is then actually one of these fluid cells. I will show you how kind of the protocol to get such a fluid cell. You use just mica sheets. Either you stamp it from a larger sheet, or you can buy them already in this rounded shape. You glue it on a glass slide or a metal stub or some other support. In this case, it's on a glass slide. We recommend to use either epoxy glue or some UV glue. People still use double-sided tape to tape it down, which I wouldn't recommend, because often it has some freedom and it moves quite a bit. So if you want to have really high resolution images, double-sided tape is not so recommended. So really fix it on your substrate. And then for measuring in fluid, we just bind like this plastic ring around with some biocompatible glue. And this allows us to fill it then up with liquid in case you measure things in liquid. And then, so typical surface modification to then use this negatively charged mica is you can add ions or not in the buffer solution. This is, for example, used for DNA or DNA origami. So you have the negatively charged mica surface, and the DNA is also negatively charged. And by adding 2+ ions into the solution, this helps you to settle down your objects of interest. And you can also modify with molecules. So the most common are then some polyornithine or polylysine, also to cover the charge of the mica surface. or also with some silanes aptase actually to then make it a bit more hydrophobic. I showed two examples. One is already shown. So one is some polyornithine treatment for DNA imaging. It's rather easy. So just what I showed you, you have the slide with the, so basically the simple fluid cell that I just showed. You cleave it, and then you add just a polyornithine solution that you can buy on the standard scientific shops. And this builds a small monolayer on top of the mica. So you let it incubate a bit, you rinse it carefully with water, and then basically you can just add your DNA solution. You let it also incubate a bit, rinse it, and just fill it up with, so rinse it to get DNA, not bound DNA removed. And you can then, nicely image in either PBS or just, pure water even. So it kind of sticks down to this polyornithine surface by the charge. Another example is immobilization of DNA origami buffer, which is even more easy. So you just add, so you cleave the mica, you add then the origami solution, which is in 10 millimolar magnesium chloride buffer, and you wait basically, and the 2+ ions will just pin down the DNA. And now let me see whether the video starts. Oh no, actually first I wanted to show you this video. Well, then we start right away with this video, because here actually Jörg did experiment with how this concentration of the ions affect the binding of these DNA origamis. So these are now triangular origamis, and what you see, the higher the so the 2+ ion concentration, the more stuck these DNA origamis are on the surface. And if you have very little and more monovalent binding ions, the origamis are just in the solution. And this is what I mentioned before. So to image it with AFM, it needs to be somehow on the surface in order to be able to measure it. So this is, I like this as a very nice example to show that just changing buffer conditions might have an effect on your binding probabilities of the of your samples. So this is done with DNA origamis. Now the next two examples are on lipids. So basically,